Ladies and gentlemen, grab your popcorn and secure your wallets, because today we're diving headfirst into the swirling vortex of America's debt crisis. Is our economy teetering on the edge of an abyss, or are we just being melodramatic? Let's unravel this fiscal enigma together. As of January 2025, the United States national debt has ballooned to a staggering $35.8 trillion. To put that in perspective, if you had a stack of $1 bills reaching $35.8 trillion, it would, well, you'd have a lot of $1 bills. That's more than the GDP of China, Japan, Germany, and India combined. The size of this debt isn't just an abstract number either. It's something that could directly impact your mortgage, your retirement savings, and even your ability to afford your next car. So, yeah, it's a big deal. But how did we accumulate such a colossal tab? Historically, our debt has seen significant surges during events like the Great Depression, World War II, and more recently, the COVID-19 pandemic. These periods required massive government spending to stabilize the economy, leading to increased borrowing. Now, some economists argue that borrowing during a crisis is like using a fire extinguisher. Absolutely necessary in the moment, but a problem if you keep spraying long after the flames are gone. The trouble is, Washington's been spraying that extinguisher non-stop. Now, let's talk about the debt to GDP ratio, a fancy term economists use to measure a country's debt relative to its economic output. In 2023, this ratio stood at 97%, meaning our debt was nearly equal to our entire economic production for the year. It's like earning $50,000 a year and owing $48,500 on your credit cards. Not exactly a comforting thought. And then there's the real nightmare fuel: interest payments. In fiscal year 2025, interest payments on the national debt are projected to total $952 billion. That's nearly $1 trillion spent just to keep our creditors at bay, a sum that could otherwise fund education, healthcare, or infrastructure. It's like making minimum payments on a credit card that never stops growing. Worse still, these interest payments are rising faster than expected, thanks to the Federal Reserve hiking interest rates to curb inflation. That's right, the cost of borrowing just keeps getting more expensive. A significant contributor to our mounting debt is the federal budget deficit. In fiscal year 2024, the government spent $6.75 trillion while collecting only $4.92 trillion in revenue, resulting in a deficit of $1.83 trillion. It's akin to running a household where expenses consistently outstrip income, leading to an ever-growing pile of IOUs. Imagine spending $6,750 every month while only bringing in $4,920. It's a recipe for financial disaster, yet that's exactly how Uncle Sam has been operating. Now, the logical next question is, why not just spend less? Ah yes, if only Washington had the willpower of someone on a New Year's diet. The problem is that both parties have mastered the art of spend now, worry later. Recent reports indicate that despite the escalating debt, efforts to curb spending have been met with resistance. For instance, Congress has blocked attempts to implement spending cuts, arguing that such measures could harm essential public services. Meanwhile, the Department of Government Efficiency has been aggressively trying to identify and eliminate wasteful spending. However, their efforts have been haphazard, causing a lot of disruption with little to show for it. Critics argue that such initiatives may not be enough to offset tax cuts and increase spending plans. Basically, it's like trying to plug a sinking ship with duct tape. But what about the global picture? Surely other countries are facing similar struggles, right? Well, yes and no. It's true that many developed nations have seen their debt to GDP ratios climb in recent years. Japan, for instance, boasts a debt to GDP ratio of over 260%. But unlike Japan, the US dollar holds unique status as the world's primary reserve currency. This gives America a superpower-level ability to borrow at favorable rates. But here's the catch. If the world ever loses confidence in the dollar's stability, that advantage disappears faster than a tourist's wallet in Times Square. So, is our economy really on the brink of collapse? Not quite. Despite the scary numbers, the US economy is still strong in several key areas. Unemployment remains relatively low, consumer spending is resilient, and businesses continue to invest. That said, the debt crisis does pose serious risks if left unaddressed. One major concern is what happens if confidence in U.S. Treasury bonds wavers. These bonds are considered one of the safest investments in the world, but even a slight dip in confidence could spark a panic that sends shockwaves through global markets. Economists suggest several strategies to address the debt crisis. First, there's fiscal responsibility, the radical idea that the government should spend less than it earns. This could involve unpopular measures like raising taxes, trimming entitlement programs, or delaying costly projects. Second, some argue for entitlement reform, reevaluating programs like Social Security and Medicare to ensure their long-term sustainability. This might include adjusting eligibility ages or modifying benefit formulas. Lastly, some economists advocate for economic growth as the ultimate solution. After all, if the US economy can expand faster than its debt, the debt-to-GDP ratio could shrink naturally. The problem? Growth requires time, and Washington seems more interested in quick fixes than long-term strategies. But let's be real. The biggest obstacle to fixing the debt crisis is politics. Our leaders have turned the debt ceiling into a game of chicken, repeatedly flirting with economic disaster for political leverage. The result is a cycle of short-term fixes that push the problem further down the road. It's like patching a leaky roof with cardboard and hoping it doesn't rain. The United States debt crisis is a complex and multifaceted issue that demands immediate attention. While we're not teetering on the edge of an economic abyss just yet, the path we're on is unsustainable. It's imperative for our leaders to set aside partisan differences and work collaboratively toward solutions that secure our nation's fiscal future. So, what can you do about it? While you may not have a direct say in government policy, you can prepare yourself by investing wisely, staying informed, and holding your elected officials accountable. One great tool to help you invest wisely is Seeking Alpha, an excellent platform that offers in-depth analysis, exclusive insights, and powerful investment tools. Check the description for an exclusive discount and free trial offer. Remember, staying informed is the first step toward meaningful change. Feel free to share your thoughts and suggestions in the comments below. And as always, stay curious, stay engaged, and let's navigate these challenging times together. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.